You are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. We are so glad that you are here. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can find the Marketing Should Be Fun show on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. But most of all, we're so glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy today's conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name is Austin Savage, founder of Savage Content Collective, and I'm here with my good friend, Kelsey Zarko, the founder of Curate Social, and we are so glad that you are here. Kelsey, happy Friday as we're recording this, Thursday as it's being released, and March as well. How are you?
Think about what month that was. I mean, either way, Friday or Thursday, we're almost to the weekend. So happy almost weekend, happy almost spring.
Nothing
all
better.
Things, all the good vibes.
Yes. Has it been cold in Texas lately?
It was frigid 2 weeks ago, and I was so sad. And then the sun came out, and I was like, oh, I just needed the sun. My life wasn't actually falling apart. It's warm now. It's like 70s.
So crazy. I've been seeing videos of like it snowing in Florida. I think it snowed in Houston as well.
It snowed here. Yeah. I mean, it's just been a weird winter, but yeah.
Oh my
we're back
goodness.
to the sun now.
Just crazy. Well, I love it. So for our this or that today, I wanted to kind of follow the trajectory of our obsession with book-related this or that's lately. Okay. Also book-related episodes. And we're just like slowly moving, just like gradually moving away from it. But like we got to, like tiptoe our way out of, that focus on the podcast.
Yeah. No hard turns.
So yeah, no, exactly. Got to be gradual. And really, we're just thinking about our listeners here, right? Like we just, we don't want them to just feel like jarred,
Abandoned.
So here's the question today. If you had to pick one, would you rather direct a movie about your life or write a book about your life?
We already know this answer. Come on. 100% would rather write the book.
Okay. Even though it would take all that time, it would take so much time.
It would take so much time to make a movie.
You're right.
I think I could actually write the book faster. You'd have to write the script,
Yeah.
No, I mean, I love to write. We're taking this marriage class at our church, and we had to write our marriage story. And it was like so much, I forgot how much fun I have writing for myself.
Did you do like narrative style? Like you like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really special. And I was just like, oh, I forgot that I love to write in this way. So for sure for me, it would be write the book. But what about you?
That is very fun. I would say the same. I think it obviously would be cool to like movies are cool. But this is the crazy thing. Haven't been vibing movies lately as a whole. Like I have generally been vibing books more than that. And also video games again, but that's, separate. I think
that it's fair to say books are your hyperfixation this year, and I am here for it. I've been waiting for this moment for 4 years.
So I would definitely like that. I actually have started writing a novel that is adjacent, like not actually about my life, but like inspired by my life. And in a recent therapy session, we were talking about we were doing like some parts work and talking about like the different parts of me and, kind of like them coming together and like working together, not like being afraid of each other. And anyways, just sparked this idea of like, oh, this like sounds like an adventure of like, what if there were these different things that needed to come together? And so then I came up with this whole concept, this whole society, and I started writing it. It'll take,
oh my goodness,
a long time before I'm done, but.
Did you want me to also write the foreword for this novel?
Please.
For your dystopian fantasy novel. Feels like I'm the right choice.
I think that would be awesome.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, yeah. I cannot wait. I would like to be on the ARC team.
Yes, please. I don't even know what that stands for. Advanced Reader Copy. I actually just got it. There we go.
You got there.
So that's super fun. But okay, slightly adjacent to the book, to the book world, but same answer from both of us. We got to come up with some spicier this or that's soon, because we've had a lot of the same answers recently,
We need to be divisive. That's what you're saying.
We need to be divisive. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We got to bring the things that really matter,
Oh gosh. this could get scary.
Yeah. All of a sudden we're just like having like super in-depth, like serious conversations on a show called Marketing Should Be Fun.
Bring back the confetti.
Today on our episode, we wanted to talk about a common misconception and a common fear that a lot of people have when it comes to content marketing. And if you may have already guessed it from the title of this episode, a lot of people have this kind of underlying fear of like, what if people feel like I'm annoying? Like, what if I'm annoying to people as I'm trying to bring value? And I think for both of us, Kelsey, I think we see this on two platforms primarily, mostly like with email marketing, and secondly with social media as well, where people feel like I don't want to post too much because I feel like people will get annoyed of me. Is this something that you're seeing or hearing in conversations that you're having as well, Kelsey?
Totally. All the time. Yeah. Second guessing, overthinking, in general, feeling like they are going to be too much or somehow inconvenience the person who is, on the other side of that screen. 100%.
Yeah. Let's just dive into why is that thinking often flawed? Like why is that that thinking maybe reductionistic a little bit even of what the purpose and kind of goal of content marketing is?
Yeah. Before we dive in, speaking of the theme of common fears, I just feel like I need to have a disclaimer in this episode that this is not my interior design behind me. I just want you to know, if you're watching the video version, that I'm in a co-working space today.
I just connected the dots. Yes.
With that in mind, let's actually dive into the episode. But here's what I was really thinking. This is something my husband talks about a lot with me, of like, we have these ideas of like, this might be real, but it's not necessarily true. And so I do want people to just feel the weight off their shoulders of like, this is real. It's normal to have these thoughts. There's not something wrong with you, or you're not bad at your business because you have these intrusive thoughts or insecure thoughts. It's real. But then what is the truth we can bring into it to combat those things, like you were saying, and just kind of point out the flaws in those narratives. And so I think one of the first ones that I commonly even will go to when people say this is, you care about your content so much more than anybody else does. That is just the long and the short of it. So you're thinking about how often people are seeing this, looking at it. And the reality is like, they're just not seeing it as much. So we have algorithms to deal with. We have just the general noise of the world. And you think about the amount of notifications and texts and emails and information you get in a day. Sure, you may be scrolling and seeing that person's post, but you're not like, oh, that's number 3 this week. Like, no one's keeping track of that. Totally. So just the idea of this, like, I'm annoying, I'm posting too much. People likely don't even realize it, first of all.
Yeah. I think that's where, you mentioned the reality of that fear, like that's where it comes from, right? Like you are seeing every single thing that you're doing. And so it makes sense that, for you, it feels like, I just sent an email and, like it was a week ago or, something along those lines. So you're absolutely right. Like it makes sense. But recognizing that there is just so much that happens, between people's experiences of your content, that kind of softens that makes that, not as true for other people. I'm even thinking of like, there are times where I try to go back and find a post that I liked like earlier in the day. Maybe I wanted to like show it to my wife or something, but I didn't forgot to send it to her. And there are so many times where I will like go back into my liked post on Instagram and that's like 15 that, and I'm like, I didn't even remember interacting with like half of that content, as I'm kind of like looking back through that list. And it's just, it's a small example, but such a great example of like people are interacting with a lot of content, throughout the day. And, as we'll get into, that's why consistency matters. And that's why it actually benefits you to overcome this fear and post more often or share content more often, but just recognizing that reality that people engage with a lot of content every single day.
I even think about how now if you like something and you go to that person's feed, it will be like, it'll kind of black out the reel that you're like, oh, you just watched this one. It is never the top one. It is always for me, like way down in their feed. And so I think it's just a good reminder even there of like, share as much as you want because they may only see a certain percentage. And so it's just a general good practice to be consistent, which I think is what we should just lead with off the top of this episode. The point that we always come to is that consistency does matter. Not only in this world of people just being bombarded by information, but consistency is how we build trust. You have heard us say it on this podcast probably 597 times. But it's because it's true. And people need that repeated exposure to understand you, build trust with you before they take whatever action step you're inviting them into. And so when we do have a consistent pattern of content, again, we always say it doesn't mean it's every day. It's a lot harder to build familiarity and trust with someone when it's like once a month or sporadic, where those consistent drops really do make a difference of them just knowing they're here, they're showing up. I can build this consistency, kind of this story in my head without even knowing it of, I just know they're there, and that does matter.
Yeah. I think the cool thing, I just put this in a proposal like yesterday. I was creating this proposal for a company that did exactly this. Like they've been doing like monthly emails and, we were kind of putting together that recommendation of, why they should increase that frequency. Yeah. I think one of the core reasons, in addition to trust, or a part of the trust equation, is also when you're consistent and when you're sharing more often, you also create expectation for your audience as well. And like this is across the board. Like it's like with even podcast episodes. It's like, when you're sharing podcast episodes monthly, it's very easy for your content to just kind of like, I don't know, for people to forget about it. Like they're not really expecting it as often. And we, I know at Savage Content, we see a huge difference for weekly shows when an audience can start to expect every Monday I get to listen to this podcast, or every Thursday I get to listen to this podcast. And it becomes a part of people's rhythm. And, because they are committing to that, and extra sort of content, like people they get to expect it. They get to feel excited for it. They get to not feel like it was just a random, email in their inbox, but this is a newsletter they get every Monday, or whatever it is. I think that is something very powerful as well when it comes to content marketing.
That's really good. I think in the same vein of expectation, it's very easy for humans to spend our expectations and our hopes and just like our energy on thinking about the people who aren't here or what we wish was happening. But I think in this vein of, am I posting too much? Instead of thinking about the people that you may be annoying, okay, so that maybe you're annoying them, like let them go and focus on the ones who actually want to hear from you. And kind of this, mind shift of, instead of focusing on, the lack of what you have, focus on how you can serve people and show up for them. And I think just that simple mindset shift even can really move us away from, am I annoying? Is this too much? To, I have value to offer, and here's how I'm going to show up for those people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is just a huge shift in content marketing. It's like, who are you talking to? And like, talk to the people who want to hear from you. Talk to the people who you have value to share in their lives. And there are going to be people, no matter what. I mean, it doesn't even matter what channel we're talking about, but in any industry and for every single creator, there are just going to be people who, don't connect with your content, with your style of content as much as other people do. And that does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong necessarily with your content. That's part of creating,
Totally.
That leads me to a point that I wanted to cover, Kelsey, as well, is such a big part of even starting to make this shift as a creator, as a business owner, as a leader in any space, is also understanding and respecting the value that you have to offer to people. And I think so much of like what this boils down to for a lot of people is, it comes across just like, hey, I'm just trying to be intentional about how I'm growing my brand. But I think deeper down is this sort of belief of like, I feel like my content isn't valuable. I also feel like I'm annoying. And I think there is just that self-realization and also self-talk shift that is such a big part of businesses and individual creators, like being able to create content more consistently, is understanding that you are not annoying. Like you are valuable. You have value to bring to people's lives, and you can create content that literally benefits people's lives and changes their lives, and changes their perspectives. And that's a gift. That's something very powerful. And that's not that's not just meaningful for you, like as, somebody who's leading a business, but that is meaningful for the people that you are engaging with, that you are sending content to. Is many of them want to hear from you. They want to connect with you. Letting them do that more often is adding value to their lives. And you can add more value to their lives by being more consistent. And so I think just respecting the value that you have as a person is just a huge part of shifting this perspective as well. Mm. And so often people are, really worried about frequencies that really aren't that often. Often we're helping people move like from, maybe like monthly emails to weekly emails. Mm-hmm. And it's like weekly emails really aren't that frequent. Like there are plenty of brands that are sending you in your inbox 4 emails a day. Mm-hmm. And you still like will refuse to unsubscribe from them,
Yeah.
Like I know that true. I have plenty of brands like that for me. And so I think shifting that perspective is just as much an internal shift as it is, an external one.
Yeah. I think that's so important. I think this is where even as a business owner or a leader, it just really matters who you surround yourself with and what you're taking in. I mean, these are times where maybe there are things you need to unfollow that are making you feel, not as secure about what you offer or who you are. Having people around you who champion you and who do, speak value into you and recognize the value you bring. We come back to it all the time, but it really does matter what you think of yourself and how you affirm what you were made to do. All of those things. It's so much deeper than just, should I post on Instagram today? It's usually way deeper than that.
Totally. Yeah. I think, this also, makes me think of just content strategy as a whole. It's like I mentioned on the internal side, that's an internal shift, but it also is like when we think of strategy and what we're trying to accomplish with strategy, it also extends all the way to that side as well. Like we were talking about consistency. And I think that's important for people to understand too. When we say, often here on the podcast as well, that content marketing is the long game, that, this is not about short wins, but it's about the long-term wins. The reason is that like we don't want with content to put too much weight and importance on the individual pieces of content as much as we do with the whole kind of strategy and framework that we're trying to accomplish. The end goal of everything is trust, and trust is what makes the way for growth. It lays the foundation for growth, and trust happens over a long period of time through multiple interactions with different pieces of content. And so, even with something like emails, if you're sending monthly emails, which by the way is a great thing to do, it's much better than not sending emails.
Yeah.
But when we're sending monthly emails, we are putting a lot of weight and a lot of importance on that one single piece of content to do maybe more than we should be expecting that single piece of content to do. And when we can spread those interactions out, it actually helps us build more trust because we're able to have more interactions, maybe in a more intentional way across multiple pieces of content rather than putting all of that maybe hope or strategy in one piece of content.
I think this is why even that integrated content marketing piece is so important. Sure, I have a lot of clients who have moved from sending no emails to 1 email a month. And that's a huge win of like, no, you're not annoying, get in people's inboxes. But then to take that email and also put their social in there or their podcast or whatever it is, and giving people so much more of an invitation to receive content from you because they don't think you're annoying. They want to hear from you. So in your email, bring them to your Instagram, give them, more of that casual daily interaction from you, and just tying it all together because all the pieces matter. I think that is really important to, when you understand your value and the value that your business or whatever your offering brings, you want people to be able to find you in all the places that you've chosen to be. So just kind of brings us back to that whole idea and philosophy of content marketing as a whole.
Yeah. Kelsey, how have you made this shift personally in your journey as a content creator in various forms over the years?
Definitely been various forms. I do remember when I was way back in the day involved in direct sales, and like that's kind of where I just got my feet wet in becoming obsessed with Instagram marketing. I remember having all of these feelings of like, I don't want to post about this again. People think I'm annoying, but learning like, no, what I have to offer matters. It impacts people. It changes their lives for the better. So if I don't post about this, I'm actually taking that away from them versus worrying so much about, I think it goes back to our point of like, am I worrying more about what I think of me and they think of me, or am I worrying more about what I can offer them and how I can enrich their lives and add value to it? And then I think just on a more recent note, of, starting Curate and launching my own company and being the one that needs to bring people into that business, I have just felt less unsure about sharing it because I know that it works. And so I do think you have to get the reps here of like, see what happens when you share things and when you're able to bring your business, your offerings to people and see that they actually do want what you offer and they actually are seeing huge change because of what you bring. On a really practical note, I screenshot texts and messages in Slack from my clients all the time of like, hey, this was so helpful, or I can't believe that like this is off my plate. And just looking back at those things to remember, what I have to offer brings goodness to the world. And for me, that's a value for me. Like it's important that what I do matters. So being able to have reminders of that in front of me make it much easier and more natural for me to continue to share what I do with people and not worry about it being annoying.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think the last maybe point, but maybe a good place to sort of land this conversation is another shift that I think a lot of businesses have to make also is moving from fully promotional content to that value-driven content. And I think this is like you were just saying, like you are confident in and are always learning and growing and being more confident, as we all are, in understanding that what you offer and what you have to share and the insight that you have is valuable. And I think a lot of your content that you're creating is in line with that, right? Like you are sharing value and always kind of earning the right then to occasionally make the ask for people to partner with you. But the content that you're creating is not just buy my services, buy my services, buy my services. And it shouldn't be that way for anybody. And so there are organizations that are creating annoying content, and that usually is just because they're only asking people to purchase from them, and they're only asking and not giving. And so I think just this conversation, really the purpose of it is twofold. On one hand, we really want to encourage you that as you are sharing value, to feel confident in that value, to feel secure in the fact that you can make a difference in people's lives and people want to hear from you. And on the other side, if you do feel like people are getting annoyed with your content or that your content could be annoying, create content that isn't annoying. Create content that is value driven, that is valuable to people's lives. And that's such an easy shift, really, that so many organizations can benefit from, that I think can also help you feel more confident than going back to that other side of being confident in the value that you have to offer when you kind of make both of those shifts.
So good. Okay. Can I leave our audience with some homework?
Do it. I love it.
Here's what I want you to do after this episode. I just want you to like open up your phone or, think about what you listen to, what you look forward to seeing, who you get emails from. And I want you to just think for a minute, like, how often does that happen? Are you pulling up your Instagram and are you looking forward to watching that person's stories every day? Are you getting that email every Friday that you like just know it's kind of your ritual of like, hey, I'm gonna drink my coffee and read this Friday favorites or whatever it is. And then I just want you to realize you're not annoyed by that. So stop thinking people are annoyed by you and just see the different, rhythms and options there are to you. And hopefully that will normalize for you. This is how content marketing works, and it's okay for other people to do it. So that means it's okay for you to do it too.
I'm going to go create a piece of content after this. This is awesome. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. That is all for today's episode, and we look forward to seeing you right back here on the next episode of Marketing Should Be Fun.